Mr. West, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy, are you able to hear me?
Hey, good evening. How's everyone?
Good evening.
Good.
Great.
Mr. Grandy, are you able to hear me? Good, how are you?
We would like to call our April 12th, April 11th board meeting to order. Before we have our invocation, we would like to have a moment of silence for the loss of one of our students. And then we will ask for our invocation.
If we would, please stand. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we are so thankful for this day, for life that you've given us. We thank you for watching over us and being with us. And Lord, as we come before you, we just thank you for each and every one that is here. We thank you for this board, dear God, and the work in which they strive to do. We thank you for our faculty and our staff, our students, dear Heavenly Father. Lord, and we thank you for the protection that you have given them day in and day out. And as we come before you today, dear God, we just ask that you'd be with us tonight. Watch over us, help us to do what is best for Bladen County Schools. Watch over us as we leave from here. Protect, I pray, dear Heavenly Father, our students, our faculty and staff, as they go on spring break. Lord, watch over them, protect them, and bring them all back to us. And again, dear God, we just ask that you would be with the Norris family. Lord, send your Holy Spirit down to comfort, fill that void that is there. But Lord, just bless them as only you can. And Lord, and we'll be sure to give you the praise, the glory, and honor for it all. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Mr. Secretary, we was in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. This time, can we get a motion to approve the agenda? Roll call. Mr. West,
Here.
Mr. Benton, Mr. Benton,
Here.
Mr. Secretary,
Here.
Mr. Carroll,
Here.
Mr. McCoy,
Here.
Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Roder.
Here.
Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark. And myself, we're here. Did I miss anyone?
Gary, attorney.
Attorney Grady. Hopefully you come on a little later. Now, can we get an approval of the agenda?
I make a motion, we approve the agenda for tonight.
Second.
It's been moved properly second. It's been moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Benton to approve the agenda for the night. Roll call. Mr. West?
Aye.
Mr. Singletary?
Aye.
Mr. McCoy?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards? Mr. Roder?
Yes. Aye.
Mr. Clark? Mr. Clark? Roger, aye. Mr. Carroll? Ayes have it, motion carried. Can you get a motion to approve the agenda, the minutes, please?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second.
I second the motion.
It's been moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Benjamin to approve the last board member meeting minutes. Mr. West?
Aye.
Mr. Secretary?
Aye.
Mr. McCoy?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards? Mr. Roder?
Aye.
Mr. Clark? Mr. Carroll? Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Motion carried, ayes have it. Consent agenda, citizen participation, correction.
Thank you, Chairman Rose and board members. We have three for citizen participation: Mr. Donnell Goins, Mrs. Kimberly Coluccio, and Ms. Liz Rutherford Cox. According to board policy 2310, the first part of at least one regularly scheduled board meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board through public comment. Each speaker will receive 3 minutes to present comments. However, the public comment session will not exceed 30 minutes total, except by majority vote of the board. During the public comment period, the board chair will recognize speakers in the order in which they signed in. Substitute speakers will not be permitted, and speakers may not donate any portion of their time to another speaker. Board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. So we have Mr. Goins first.
Gentlemen,
Good evening.
ladies. Tonight, my presentation is more upbeat and positive. We have encouraged you to visit us at East to talk with students and staff collectively to see and hear their concerns. Contrary to what some of you may believe, East Bladen have other creative talents other than sports. East Bladen have students who demonstrate their creativity via the humanities, visual arts, and band. That's why I wrote this. Obviously, I couldn't bring the band. Just like any athletic coach who takes the time to train their star players, I believe East Bladen has one of the best visual art teachers in the state. As a result of his coaching, instruction, efforts, and dedication, the quality of work his students produce is nothing short of amazing. A picture is worth 1,000 words. I was granted permission from our visual arts teacher and one of his advanced students who is here tonight to share examples of the other things East does very well. Ms. Kimberly Ann Carluccio, a senior and A student 4+ GPA, who asked to come to this meeting herself to present her work. Ms. Carluccio has a definite plan to take her education to the next level. If you don't know who our visual arts teacher is Mr. Ron Warren, okay? Why is this a concern? Just like sports, providing students with physical and emotional outlets, the arts does the same thing for our students.
Mrs. Coluccio.
Can you do this? She's a little shy. She said she wants to talk about her art and what she learned in Mr. Warren's class.
Jackson. It's been an honor working with Mr. Warren all 4 years of my high school education. And he really inspired me to do this piece because I wasn't a really good art student when I first started out. Couldn't even draw snowman. But he pushed me to the best abilities that I could possibly bring out of myself. And I chose this because it definitely was a challenge. It took about maybe a week and a half of a lot of frustration and sweat put into this, but I was very proud of it when it was finished.
That's a very good picture of him, I have to say.
Yeah.
That is very good.
Thank you. I was very proud of it.
Yeah, you should be.
And I also drew this one myself with a piece of charcoal. And Mr. Warren also helped me figure out after we drew a grid drawing on it, I erased the grid and I drew my own face.
Very good. It looks just like it.
Thank you. Mr. Warren is an amazing teacher and I'm very sad to see him go.
That was really good.
Yeah. Did you say from a snowman to this? Very good.
Thank you.
Outstanding young lady. Man.
You hope to have a gallery sometime?
Thank you so much, young lady. And you will put Blaine County on the map
And Ms. Rosen Cox.
with your
Rosen
group.
Cox, our last one.
Good evening.
Mm.
Tonight I stand to ask for updates. After months of Mr. Goins and I advocating for an alternative learning setting for our students to address gaps in learning, the board and the superintendent heard the voices of our two teachers, Ms. West and Ms. Willington. It was stated that Mr. Goins and I must not have been blowing smoke. I'm asking for an update on the progress of those discussions. Mr. Goins and I also, along with Ms. Hunt, one of the counselors, have spoken on the need for additional school counselors. Our students have been traumatically, not dramatically, impacted by the events of the last 2 years. Some of our children have sunken into some very dark places and need counseling support. Some of those services can be provided by the school counselor if given the opportunity to meet with students. I'll say it again, many counselors are unable to meet one-on-one with students as much as needed because they are either teaching classes or conducting intervention sessions. We were told a few months ago that the county received funds to support hiring additional counselors and that further information was being gathered on the number of students that each counselor served. I'm also asking for an update on any progress made in this area. Lastly, to the parents, fellow educators, and concerned citizens present in this room or listening online, your thoughts and opinions matter. You have a right, actually a responsibility, to hold those sitting in front of me accountable for doing what is right for all students in Blake County. I do not envy any of the gentlemen sitting before me. They have an awesome task and responsibility. And in reality, life and death consequences can result from the decisions they choose to make or fail to make. Fellow citizens, it's voting time. If you are hesitant about making a statement at the board meeting, you can make a statement in the voting booth. Our teachers matter, our counselors and school staff matter, and most importantly, our students matter. Your vote is your voice. Be heard. Thank you for this.
I'm glad. Mr. Superintendent, any comments?
As it relates to student services, we have not received an additional allocation. We were gathering information to advocate to the state for additional, so we did do that letter on behalf of the board. We are presently right now working through budget time, as we'll see tonight with current expense. I have shared this even in one of the most recent meetings. We have got to have more help with student services. One example of what the state did with us recently is they added a school psychologist allocation. They took that away from teacher positions to do that. Most did, and one of the problems for North Carolina is there's not enough people to even fill those positions. And one thing they're looking at is maybe making that more flexible for potentially guidance counselors, additional social workers, We haven't made those needs known to us, but we have got to get more support. And we're hoping that as they come back into session, look at the budget, they'll make changes in that because we know it is a critical need for our students. So we are continuing to advocate from our district to the state on that because we know that's a need. Just even today with what we had to go through, the personnel that had to come on board from other sites, we know that that's just one thing that unfortunately not only one of our Blake County schools families has to deal with, but that affects the whole school. And you saw that today. So we know even with COVID, the additional mental health supports, that is something that we need help on. And I think even too, part of that goes back to not just individuals in terms of budget per se, but they've got to be more flexible with how folks get licensed and making programs more readily available for folks to go through. So tuition assistance, those kinds of things that they can do. They've been able to release folks into internships earlier to be into the school environment. Traditionally now that happens in their last semester. We need these folks yesterday. So we really got a lot of continued advocating, and we need some stakeholders beyond the scope of our room to help us with that, but definitely feel that need, see that need, and we're continuing to advocate on that as well. So I'd call state representatives, which our letter went even to our state superintendent, that continue to lobby because we need these supports in our building.
Thanks, sir. Then that's on the citizen participation in our consent agenda. Did we get a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Carroll to approve the consent agenda. Second by Mr. Benton. Ready for the roll call? Mr. West?
Aye.
The Secretary?
Aye.
Mr. McCoy?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Mr. Roder?
Aye.
Mr. Clark? Ms. Carroll? Mr. Benton?
Aye.
And Roger, aye. 8 ayes, motion carried. Dr. Atkins, our policy update, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Roser and board members. Action item 8.01 regarding policy 4231, 5021, and 7263 for face coverings. This is still a required vote monthly until legislature sees fit otherwise. Currently, the board has approved option B for students and staff, which is optional masking. I know what the pleasure of the board is for the next 30 days.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we continue at option B.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. McCarroll, second by Mr. Benton to continue with option B. Ready to vote? Roll call, Mr. West,
Aye.
Secretary,
Nay.
Mr. McCoy,
Nay.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Mr. Roder, Mr. Clark, Mr. Carter, Mr. Benton,
Aye.
and Rozier. That vote should remain as is. Eight point zero two, our substance, our GMP, total estimate projected budget. Tar Heel Construction.
Thank you, Chairman Roser and board members. Tonight, we have Mr. John Witcher, Mr. Ben Brisson, and Mr. Mike Burris with us. Mr. Witcher and Mr. Brisson with Bordeaux Construction, Mr. Burris with MVP, which is our project manager for the project. Tonight, we'll be sharing the guaranteed maximum price, projected estimated budget, as well as we'll discuss the other parts of that and how we need to move forward. Once they finish the presentation, you do have this in board docs as well. They provided a copy, also put it on the screen. So we don't thank them for being here tonight as we discuss our next steps with the Tar Heel School construction project.
Thank you. On behalf of Bordeaux Construction, SFLA Architects, and MVP, I appreciate the opportunity to get you to this point. We're certainly excited about getting you to the next juncture in this project. Want to present the GMP. So last month, we opened up bids for every single bid package. We took all of those low bidders, made an interview inside of our office, and reviewed their scope with them as it related to their price, just to make sure that all the items that were listed on the plans, specifications, and shown in our bid docs were covered. These bidders total construction cost of work is $31,693,983. In addition to that, we also have alternates that we proposed and reviewed via the architect, MVP, as well as with the superintendent of schools. Those alternates include photovoltaic system totaling $2 million and change. Additional 22 parking spaces. This is on the next page. For $97,000. Terrazzo floors in lieu of vinyl floors throughout the hallways and main corridors and lobbies. That totaled $396,000. There was a preferred brand alternate to go to a roofing system. We do not recommend that. It, in our opinion, costs too much money. So we are avoiding that in this presentation. Preferred brand alternates for door hardware was a no-cost change, so we obviously would take that. Preferred brand alternate for fire alarm system. We received a price for that for $26,000. I recommend that. There's a preferred brand alternate to go to a Caterpillar generator. We do not recommend taking that alternate. A little tidbit on this, Caterpillar uses the same generator that was in the base bid and then puts their name on it. So for $76,000, we can't recommend that to you. Preferred brand alternate for flush valves for your toilets, that was a no-cost change. Preferred brand alternate for direct digital controls, the Siemens. That was a no-cost change. Preferred brand alternate for switchboards. This is an electrical item to go to Square D switchboard. That was a no-cost change. We would obviously recommend that. And electrical vehicle bus charging stations, the raceway only. So this is just the conduit. It's not include the station itself, nor the wiring. Mike is going to talk a little bit about that when he does his presentation. The raceway only, the cost for that was $26,000. All of these total $2,592,924. This added to the $31 million gets us to a total cost of work of $34,286,907. This, coupled with our general conditions lump sum, the owner's 3% contingency, our CM contingency of 2%, and our fee of 3.5%, bonds and insurance cost of 1.25% of the cost of work, brings us to a total guaranteed maximum price of $39,389,519. Is there any questions?
Under your bonds and insurance, this performance bonds and what else? And what else under that?
That is our general liability insurance.
Yeah, no. But my question is, what others are included in there? Are there any other?
No, sir.
None. Okay, what about,
Builder's risk is, yes,
yeah, okay.
yes.
What about the subs? I know I'm getting a little in front, but the
Sure.
subs payment bond.
Their payment and performance bonds are located within the cost of their work.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
that was my question.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
How much of this 39 million is going to minority contractors?
Right now, there's a total of 12.53%, $3,971,943. Now, that is just off the cuff, straight off the bids that we've received. We do intend to elevate that percentage. We are currently asking all of our subcontractors to execute with vendors that would elevate this number as an NBE percentage. At the end of the job, we will provide you with that total. I do expect it to be higher.
Yeah, because the general statute required about what, 14%?
10.
10?
10%.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
So we're 2.5 above right now.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Do you know what percentage that will
Our
go up
goal
to?
is 20. That's our goal.
Gonna do 30?
If I can do 30, I will give you 30. Right now, our goal is 20.
That's
Sure.
great.
Now, Mr. Burris is going to go through the other parts of the estimated project, the things that are not included in the actual construction costs that are necessary for the building.
Good evening.
Is,
Mike Burris, glad to be able to present for in front of you today. As a program manager for the project and the representative of the school system on the project, it's important to go ahead and look at all the rest of the costs that are associated with the project and be able to give the county total amount that we anticipate needing and requiring for the project. On the next page that you have before you, you can see the total of John's bids, which were below his budget. I want to highlight that. That's one of the, as someone who works across the state with all sorts of different school systems, it is very, very rare to see a project coming in under a budget. And the team has done an excellent job in doing that. So I commend him on their progress. Going through the accepted alternates and the adjustments and contingencies that he has, John has his total is $39,389,519. Below that, you can see that there are items that are still within the scope of the school board's budget that need to be covered and need to be estimated as we go forward with contracts that we'll have for these items. Pre-construction contract, you've already encumbered with Bordeaux in their first phase up to this construction point. You're now issuing them a new contract for the remainder of their construction and the guaranteed maximum price. The design fees and reimbursables to Schuler Ferris of $2,764,197. You also have a contract with them for 3 years of operational performance enhancements at the school. Between the solar systems and the water source heat pumps, there are a lot of different mechanisms in order to improve the long-term energy efficiency of that building. And this portion of the contract allows you to do that. They will go through that operation to make sure your maintenance department understands how it operates, because it's not very complicated, but it is something that's different. And then to be able to make sure that your energy costs follow the profile of the community. Program management fees are services of my services for 18 months or so in the timeframe. We have a potential purchase of electric buses, the charging stations associated with them, or a battery backup system if the buses, if the option of purchasing the buses does not come through. Currently, the state has a grant that they've published for 5 electric school buses. There are other grants that will be available in subsequent years for that. We think that it'd be prudent for the Bladen County to apply for one of those grants and to see how an electric school bus would operate on your longest route before committing additional funds into buying all the buses for that Tar Heel school at that time. You can also do a battery backup to help with the optimization in order to save that power that you are generating and be able to use it to offset your budgets. So that's why those two options are there. We are not encumbering that at this time and not recommending an award at this time. We're just holding that as a budget. Below that is the technology equipment for students, all of the hubs and all of the wireless systems that we have for the school to be installed, the network equipment, the cabling, all associated with that, the dollar amounts shown there. Security equipment, cameras, locks, those things that are associated that you put into place after the school is getting started so that your contractor is in charge of that, instead of going through a subcontractor with a general contractor, with a CM. Fixtures and equipment of $500,000, all of the classroom furniture, all of the teachers' desks, file cabinets, all those things that are loose or could be shaken and then will fall out of the building. That's what all the furniture equipment budgets are for. Media center furniture and the CTE equipment and the casework associated with that, $200,000. We've already committed to a topographical and boundary survey of $28,000, a geotechnical report of $34,000, seasonal and special inspections and material testing. That is a contract that you'll let here shortly. The RFQs are coming for that, and we'll be recommending someone in the future for that. Commissioning is making sure that the systems are operating properly. It's a requirement from the state of North Carolina that commissioning is performed on the school. A third party, those RFQs are out right now, and we'll receive them in a couple of weeks. There's been a pressure test of the hydrants at the front of the school. There's been no requirements from DOT for additional work out along the highway. So we're not budgeting any additional dollars for that. Within John's budget, there is an allowance for paving of the road on the back side of the school between the ball fields and the school itself to repave that. County is requiring permits to be pulled and paid for by the school system in the project. That's not uncommon, but we do have a budget of $150,000 for that. There are no additional costs anticipated this time for utility services to be pulled through the building. We've done the geothermal conductivity test for $17,000, septic system contract oversights in place. Tanks are set now. The fields are placed. That we're progressing very well. And then the other requirements are included within that contract. Adding all of those expenses together, their potential expenses and budgets, have a total project cost of $46,999,745. That takes you to within your budget of that we've applied for with the grants with the county and with the state.
Thanks, sir. I know this is not part of your agenda there, but you think we might be able to get somebody to give us an electric bus to test until we get to school there?
There are a lot of counties that are asking that. A demonstration is probably viable, but I'll ask and see.
You've been thinking on it anyway. Yeah.
So Chairman Rozier, tonight, we will need the board to accept the guaranteed maximum price, accept the total estimated project budget, and to authorize the board chair and superintendent to enter into the CM at risk contract with Bordeaux Construction for the Tar Heel project, contingent upon receiving the $40 million from the public school capital fund.
Okay. We'll deal with that. We'll get a motion to accept the information shared, continued upon receiving the monies from the DPI.
I'll make that
Motion to approve, Alan West.
Good, Alan.
Roger Carroll, second.
Motion by Mr. West, second by Mr. Carroll. Ready for the vote. Roll call. Mr. West?
Aye.
Mr. Secretary?
Aye.
Mr. McCoy?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Mr. Rhoda?
Aye.
Mr. Clark? Mr. Carroll? Mr. Benton? Rozier, aye. We have 8 yeses and 1 none in attendance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
We
very much.
appreciate that. And if you find out that for us and they say yes, we'll be one more happy camper.
Chairman Roser and board members, action item 8.03 is a recruitment and retention plan for staff for 2022-23. Obviously, we know that especially through COVID, there's been a lot of retirements of staff, not only in Blaine County, but across the state. Also a shortage of folks who are coming through education programs. And we know that in this market for teachers and other staff, we have to be competitive. So we have an opportunity utilizing ESSER funds to be able to implement sign-on bonuses, retention bonuses, and other reimbursement for staff for the 22-23 school year. I'll be speaking in superintendent's update regarding a job fair. So obviously this is a part of that. Tonight, we would start that then. The retention bonus component would be for current employees, just as you all have graciously done in the fall, and employees will be receiving this Thursday. This retention bonus will be paid to all permanent employees employed on December 1 and April 1. The payment of these bonuses would take place in December 22 and April of 23. So basically, we're asking the board to approve these two bonuses again, fall and spring, in the amount of $1,000. And that again will be prorated based off of the percentage of employment. We're also asking the board, as a part of this plan, to initiate a sign-on bonus for staff members hired for the 22-23 school year. This will be paid in September, so that would be 30 days after their employment. Any employees who would separate prior to the end of the school year would be expected to pay the balance on a prorated schedule. There's also an additional bonus that we currently have in place now for 0 to 3 as $300. What we're proposing is anyone that has an initial or residency license or is eligible to hold a license would be a $1,500 sign-on bonus. Anyone with a permit to teach or emergency license or eligible to hold would be a $1,000 bonus. For classified positions, that would be teacher assistants, custodians, bus drivers, cafeteria, anyone fall non-certified would be a $500 sign-on bonus. And then any teacher with a clear license that has a master's degree or national board certification, a $2,000 sign-on bonus. In addition, for any teachers who are required to complete licensure exams, we would like to provide $300 per exam for the successful completion of that prior to the license expiration. And then we've already got this in place, but to provide tuition reimbursement for any degree-based program related to education or result in a licensure or teaching position up to $850 for the cost of tuition. And I'm requesting the board tonight to approve, and I believe this is a need for us, and we have an opportunity with ESSER dollars to do this to help in our recruitment and retention. Asking the board to approve this 2022-2023 recruitment and retention plan.
You heard the suggestion come from the superintendent. Get a motion?
I moved.
Dennis. That was Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Mr. Edwards made the motion. Mr.
I have a
Benton?
question.
Yeah, we're ready for this.
Question.
Okay.
Will this include, I don't know, he could have said this, cafeteria workers?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that was included. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir, for recognizing that. Any other additional discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote. Mr. West?
Aye.
Mr. Secretary? Mr. McCoy?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Mr. Rhoda?
Aye.
Mr. Clark? Mr. Carroll? Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Roger, aye. We have 8 ayes, 1 non-compliance. Motion carried. Mrs. Harrison.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Board. You should have before you the proposed current expense budget for the 22-23 school year. We're still working on the 21-22 school year, but now it's time for us to move forward to the 22-23 school year. In this budget, we have to have you to approve the proposed budget at this point so that we can take this to the county commissioners for their May meeting. Inside this budget, just to let you know what the increases are, there is a pay increase 2.5% or $13, which was what we had to do for the 21-22 school year based on state mandate. And then the 2.5% increase for the 22-23 school year, or the $15 per hour. So that is included in this budget. We also have a hospitalization increase of $351, which is projected for the 22-23 school year, and a retirement increase to 24.19% from 24.10% is the projection for the 22-23 school year. We have also added into this budget, which is going into Dr. Atkinson's budget message to the county commissioners, is a 2% increase. And this kind of goes along with our retention plan that you just approved, a 2% increase for certified supplements, and which is what we do now, and then adding a 2% supplement for our non-certified employees, which comes straight from the county. You'll notice if you look through the budget, there is an increase in sub pay, and that is because we've had a problem this year, with keeping subs and all through the pandemic. There's also an increase in fuel because we all know fuel went up. And there's also an increase or an add for funds for our middle school athletics. We have seen there is a need. Their revenue has been very low in middle school athletics. And there is a need. A lot of times they get a lot of things handed down to them, and there is a need for that as we talk with the schools. Those are the items that have increased in the budget, and we will be taking this budget, if approved tonight, to the county commissioners for their May meeting, along with the superintendent's message for our 22-23 school year. So administration is asking for approval, and this is for the proposed current expense budget for the 22-23 school year.
Quick question, I hope you can answer mine now. The rural low-income schools, we have a decrease in that of 35,000. Can you remember what that was right off?
That rural and low-income schools is based on ADM.
Okay.
And we had a decrease in ADM.
Right.
And I think that's exactly, I will shoot you an email, or I will send everybody the same email to let you know for sure when I look at it. There's been so much up and down with the state. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know it has something to do with the ADM, and there was something else, but I will.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm not positive. I think you're right. Any additional questions for?
Yes, with the 2% increase, what would that bring the supplement total to?
The teachers are now 4%, would do 6%. In the budget message I have drafted, I'm also asking them to consider increasing that additional 2% for the upcoming years as well. So we want to propose starting at 2%, and then ask them that, and one thing I'm including in the budget message is a chart of everyone in our Sand Hills RESA and neighboring counties that shows what they're paying. And also not only for teacher supplement, but also for non-certified. We were just one of few districts that did not provide one for non-certified. That will be in the budget message to show the county commissioners where we fall compared to our neighboring counties. In the county's strategic plan that was just approved, the number one item priority under education is to recruit and retain highly qualified teachers. So we're doing our part tonight as the board has approved the recruitment retention plan, and we're asking the county commissioners to support us on the supplement.
Good. Thanks, Ms. Harrison.
You're welcome.
Can I get a motion?
Dr. Atkinson.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Dr. Atkinson, Alan West. You hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where in the budget is that increased supplement pay? Can you direct me to what line it is?
It is, there's a lot of lines. If you'll look,
Yeah.
what we have to pay based on purpose code, because purpose code, I know this doesn't mean a whole lot, or you don't always have to know this, but based on what the position is, and that's a state mandate on their purpose, on their line string for their account codes. So as you look down the budget, you will see supplement certified, all the way through, and then you will see classified supplement, On the third page, about, maybe about a quarter of the way down would be the classified, where we're adding the classified supplement in. Certified, you'll see throughout the budget where it says certified and where I have to show it line by line so that.
All right, I just thought, I thought there would be just one line with that showing it, but evidently not. So.
If I did a summary for you, you could see the total amount, but I wanted you to see the detail behind it so that you could see exactly what was there.
All right, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
We only got about 10 supplements. No additional. Can I get a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve.
Second, Alan West.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. West. We're ready to vote. Here, no additional discussion. Mr. West.
Aye.
Mr. Singletary.
Aye.
Mr. McCoy.
Aye.
Mr. Edwards.
Aye.
Mr. Rhoda. Mr. Clark. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Benton.
Right.
Rosa, aye, 8 ayes, 1 is working. Approval of the new mission statement and vision statement, Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Chairman Rozier and board members. As you all know, we have been working through our strategic planning work, as you all are also serving on those teams in order to finalize where we are in terms of our team's work. We want to go ahead and ask the board to adopt the new mission statement, vision statement, and core values. The new mission statement would be: Bladen County Schools will ensure all students are future ready by providing meaningful learning experiences in an inclusive and supportive environment. Vision statement: Bladen County Schools will provide a student-focused learning community that fosters high expectations for all stakeholders and prepares all students for future success. Our core values: innovation. We will embrace forward thinking and creativity to transform our schools. Inspiration. We will foster an environment that empowers all students and staff with enthusiasm and motivation. Inclusion. We will value all people for who they are, nurture diversity, and embrace the contributions of all stakeholders to strengthen our learning community. And integrity. We will communicate and act in a trustworthy manner to build genuine relationships through self-awareness, transparency, accountability, and responsibility. And I'm requesting the board to approve our new mission statement, vision statement, and core values tonight.
Mr.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I move that for the approval of the new mission statement, the vision statement, and the core values.
Thank you, sir. Can you get a second, please?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. McCoy, second by Mr. Carroll. Any additional questions or discussion? Here, now we're ready to vote. Mr. West.
Aye.
Mr. Secretary.
Aye.
Mr. McCoy.
Aye.
Mr. Edwards.
Aye.
Mr. Rhoda. Mr. Clark. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Rozier, aye. 8 ayes and 1 is at work. Dr. Atkins,
Thank you, Chairman Rozier and board members. Action item 8.06, we'll have to ask the board to approve a change of location for the May 22 board meeting. This is so we can do our spotlights and recognitions for the year for our schools. And we're asking the board to approve changing the location of the May meeting to the Elizabethtown Middle School.
will I get a motion?
Yes. Mr. Chair, I move that we change the location to E-Town Middle for our next board meeting, which will be in May.
Second, please. Moved by Mr.
Second, Alan West.
I think Mr. Edwards said something. Right, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, sir.
Motion by Mr. McCoy, second by Mr. West. Mr. Edwards. We had no discussion. We ready to vote.
I have one request on this. Please let us stay over there.
Yeah, instead of moving back. Request taking it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. West.
Aye.
Mr. Secretary,
Aye.
Mr. McCoy,
Aye.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Mr. Roder. Mr. Roder,
Aye.
Mr. Clark, Mr. Carroll, Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Rosa, ayes have it. Thank you so much. Now, as we get ready to go into closed session. Good to see you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, sir.
To go into closed session for the purpose of discussion personnel as per North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A to consult with attorney is needed as per North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A3, and to discuss student reassignment and student discipline per the 1974 Family Right and Privacy Act. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to go into closed session.
Second, Alan West.
Move by Mr. Garrett, second by Mr. Benton. We ready to vote? Mr. West,
Aye.
Mr. Secretary,
Aye.
Mr. McCoy,
Aye.
Mr. Edwards,
Aye.
Mr. Roder.
Aye.
Mr. Clark, Mr. Carroll, Mr. Benton, and Rozier. Okay. Ayes have it, motion carried. We'll be back as quick as possible.
Mr. West, are you able to hear him?
Yeah, I'm here.
And Mr. Rhoda, are you able to hear him?
Somebody, 22-year-old died.
Mr. Rhoda, can you hear me? Mr. McCoy, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Rhoda, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Can I get a motion to come out of close?
I'll make a motion, we come out of closed session.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Carroll that we come out of closed session, second by Mr. Benton. Roll call, Mr. West,
Here, all right.
the secretary. Mr. McCoy.
Aye.
Oh, Ms. Edwards. Mr. Rhoda. Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark is working, he's still not on. Ms. Carroll. Mr. Benton. Mr. Edwards. Those ayes have it, motion carried. We're out of closed session. Dr. Beatty.
I recommend that you approve personnel list action item A.
I'll make a motion, we accept action item A.
Second, Alan West.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. West for action item A and personnel. Mr. West.
Aye.
Mr. Secretary.
Aye.
Mr. McCoy.
Aye.
Mr. Edwards. Mr. Rhoda. Mr. Rhoda. Mr. Clark. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Benton. Mr. Rozier, ayes have, motion carried. Can we get a motion to approve action item B?
I move that we approve action item B.
I second the motion. Glenn.
A motion by Mr. Benton, second by Mr. McCoy. Ready to vote? Roll call, Mr. West.
Aye.
Mr. Secretary.
Aye.
Mr. McCoy.
Aye.
Mr. Edwards. Mr. Rhoda.
Aye.
Mr. Clark. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Benton. Rozier, ayes have it, motion carried. Action item B. Any comments from the board before we
I got one question.
give a comment?
Just too excited about it. June's coming up.
Yes.
Can we use those monies for increase in supplement salaries and things like that? Can we budget that? Monies from the payoff for the schools?
Oh, well, we have asked, in fact, we had a conversation today. It came out that they have held that $900,000 on reserve. We asked, was the last payment made last year? And they said, yes, the county will have to return that to us. But those funds are in capital outlay. They cannot be used for any current expense outside of capital outlay. The county commissioners would have to approve the use of that money outside.
But we can ask them.
You can ask them, yes.
And
But
we still got a yes on that, correct? It's gonna be ours.
should be, as we clarified that in the budget, well, I might draft the budget, we're
Okay.
return that money back to us. I think it told us about 900,000 was that what was on reserve.
But we have plenty of capital outlay that we could use it for also, don't we?
For needs and things, yes, sir.
I can think of one right now that the auditorium at Bladenboro Middle School. Heard figures on what it might take to fix it, but that would just about fix it from even the high figures that I've heard.
And we did write in the draft budget message. I'll finalize that tomorrow as the budget's been approved, about other facility needs that we have. Also keeping on the radar about the multi-purpose buildings that are needed, especially those elementary schools. The field houses as well on there. Other repairs to facilities, those go athletic facilities outside. There's a lot of things on there. Blaine Auditorium. Mr. Lennon is working on getting some prices for that roof as well at Blaineboro. And then we have been approached concerning some land at Blaineboro Middle School as well. County commissioners would have to approve that, but there is, I think, about 3.5 acres there near at the school that could be potentially used by the board. If that's something you want us to continue to research with Mr. Grady, we can look at that and bring that back if that's something the board wants to look at.
I would say so. There's no way you can grow over there. That's the only way you can go. And it's the land you're talking about right at the end of behind the football field. So don't ever know when you might need something, and that's the only place to get any.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Fines and forfeits.
Mhm.
Are we getting any money from that?
We are getting some money from fines and forfeits, a little bit more this year than we had last year.
Oh, good. But they still haven't caught up yet.
No, we still haven't caught up. Still a couple of months behind, so I'm waiting on it. Actually, today when we talked to Lisa Coleman, we went through that information with her, also the finance officer down there.
Okay,
So they told us, what, Jason, they were about 2 months behind.
then we want our money.
Yeah.
With
interest, 2 months interest.
And they,
With interest.
and they do it quarterly, I think.
They do it quarterly, yes.
Okay. Also, on the Leandro case, understand that hopefully they're gonna try and get us some money again.
Mhm.
Don't know how that's gonna work, but let's keep hoping and praying and believing. Also, DPI. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Have we heard anything on our track fields?
Okay, yeah, on our tracks.
Could Mr. Lynn, you want to address the tracks where we currently are now, looking at what's needed for those repairs?
Yeah, I got some companies that's supposed to come out and try to get us some quotes, and we got to do it on a timely manner when it's on the off season from the other sports.
So how soon you think how soon you think we might hear from them? You got a timeline?
I got some coming in a couple of weeks. We got to get 3 bids, so when I get them to come down, get all 3 I submitted.
Tennis courts, West Blaga.
I gotta get on that too. I'm just trying to play catch up right now. I'll get to you, I promise you that.
One thing I'll mention.
You heard that, Gary? Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, I heard.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard.
We are exploring the option on the track, potentially maybe could be covered out of ESSER as a walking track for the school as well. So we're looking at that. That's the case. That may be a funding source outside of capital that may be directed to. ESSER has, some different requirements, obviously connecting back to COVID, outside learning, social emotional learning. So that is a possibility. We have to explore that. That's something that was shared with us actually by federal program staff as a possibility. So we'll look, once we get some numbers, that's why we've asked Ms. Lynn to get 3 bids, which you have to have for that. We can kind of see if that's something that DPI may approve.
Is that part of that $7 million increase in the federal grants?
Yes. They told us there was a possibility of using that money for that.
All right.
And also there's other grants, athletic facilities grants and things we're looking at. There's a small one that the district received to kind of do a little bit of work in the middle schools. We are continuing, may have an opportunity to apply for that to the next year for additional funding. So every chance we can see to apply for additional funding, even not just for, certain monies have to be spent in certain ways. And that's what's difficult sometimes is, some things may be earmarked for facilities improvements, some things for personnel. We know we got needs here. We know we got a lot of needs on personnel. So one thing that we're hoping to see some change in on the personnel side is increased funding for our social emotional needs, whether they be guidance, social workers, school counselors. We know there's a need there, and we're hoping that they're going to. But then I think even with Leandro, that make this part of that fits in that well too, because of rural districts who have been traditionally underfunded, not also having those same supports, not having adequate access to counselors and social workers and mental health support. So we're hoping all that comes through because we definitely need.
Yeah, according to the North Carolina Constitution, it is a right. It is a responsibility of the state to educate our children. And to each board member, we challenge you. Go ahead. Gary, you started to say something?
I'll be trying to get a cue when you get ready to finish, but I don't ever make it right.
Go ahead. I won't lose my train of thought.
I apologize for it, Vince.
Go ahead.
Who is that?
This is Vince. Go ahead. Go.
That money that we get from the lottery, can't we use that money to give our bus drivers a raise?
Lottery funds is for capital improvements.
Yeah, well, they complaining about they the only one didn't get a raise when all this money came through.
They got the raise that came last year from the state. They'll get another one in July, $15 an hour minimum.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And that'd be for that applies to anyone on non-certified. So cafeteria, same thing. And that's what the increase in the local budget is to help support that, because that is a state mandate increase. So local has to pick that up. Any employees that may pay out of federal funds, federal programs has to pick up that difference too. So definitely a good thing, but just knowing that we're going to have additional support on the local side to make it the difference. But yes, sir, they will be getting that as well. Anyone newly hired with the new recruitment retention plan will get those sign-on bonuses, and current employees will get the retention bonus. So definitely know that everyone's appreciative of what the board passed tonight on that as well.
And also, I would like to challenge each board member to tap into whatever source that they may have to see what kind of grant that each one of us might get knowledge of. And then say, if you get some knowledge of it, we can find someone to help us write that grant. Mm-hmm. Anything else from board members?
Yes. Where do we stand on an alternative setting for our county?
That is, we're looking at a couple options now. Reached out to DPI to see if we could do a partnership with a separate agency, potentially a school that we could work with for the district itself. There is not, it would have to be a separate, if you do a separate setting, it would be a new school setting, school number. You would not receive any additional personnel. We just find it has to come from current ADM and current enrollment. So you would have to pull teaching staff from the school. So we're exploring about 2 or 3 different options. We talked about bringing that committee together. I think we're at that point now. I've asked for some directions. There is an Office of Alternative Learning at DPI. So we've asked for some more feedback, because some of those things have changed since Extended Hope was in place and the current programs that we have now. And it may be where we can get someone to tap in with us to have that meeting to kind of share some ideas. But we're trying to get some questions answered in terms of options that the district may have to explore some different arrangements on that.
Now, in the county that I work in, we have alternative settings throughout the county, and just beside just one setting. Mm-hmm. Have we looked in that option as well?
That's other options as well, kind of similar. It may be even revamping what we have currently east and west now, but obviously we see there's the need at other levels too. So again, that's another thing that we're looking at. What our options may be for that as well. So, and that could function a couple of different ways. Some have, residential program in the school. Some have it where it's in the school with virtual. Some do it outside, total site in the district. And then we're also looking at what other partnerships may be there for us as well. So to definitely make the best decision that and support our students. And we wanted some answers. So whenever the committee meets, we can kind of look at what that is and bring a recommendation back to the board.
Anything else? Anybody?
Superintendent's report whenever you're ready.
Go ahead.
All right. Superintendent's updates, just a few things. This past week, April 4th through 8th, was Assistant Principals and School Media Specialist Week. So we're thankful for those folks and all they do to support our schools. Strategic planning committees are continuing to be hard at it. Right now, we're on track, barring any issues, to bring a draft of the plan just for discussion at the May meeting. And then everything works out well, we'll plan to adopt that at the June meeting. We are finalizing our plans for the academic honors ceremony. This would recognize any students who've maintained a 90 or above average for the academic year, pulling back from the end of the 3rd grading period. We'll also recognize any students who are on the superintendent's list during those grading periods. Our tentative date right now, we're just confirming location, is Monday, May 23rd at Elizabethtown Middle School gym. We would do this in different phases because we actually have a good number of students. We're planning to start at 4 o'clock with grades 3 and 4, 5:15 with grades 5 through 8, and 7 o'clock with grades 9 through 12. But we will finalize this over the next day or two and send that out to you all and begin the process of notifying. This is something the district did many years ago, and they felt like it was a need for us to bring this back to recognize our students and their academic honors. We're also looking forward to the spotlights and recognitions at the next board meeting to be able to catch up on that. Since COVID, we're not able to have that. As I've alluded to, job fair for Bladen County Schools, we're very excited to have our own. Be on Tuesday, May the 2nd from 4 to 7 o'clock at Elizabethtown Middle School gym. We do appreciate the board approving the recruitment retention plan tonight. That will become an active part of that job fair. We're timing the event in hopes of being able to attract some folks who will graduate from college as well as others who are interested in our county and surrounding areas. It is our goal to make this an annual event. Our intent as well is to work through the process and provide some on-site interviews as well to go ahead and try to get some candidates in place if possible, and to go ahead and issue any viable candidates a letter of intent to employ pending their background check, review of their license, and then of course final approval by the board. And since you've all approved this plan tonight, we have everything ready to go. So tomorrow, everything will be released media-wise, and we'll be advertising all over the place to colleges, electronic, our local papers, billboard. We're going all out to try to attract and our personnel. So we are excited about that event, and we're hopeful that it will yield, even if it's just folks coming to get interest in our district and being able to follow back up with them. I think that's important. So we'll have a list of current vacancies and anticipated vacancies at that as well. We'll be asking folks to bring a current resume to go ahead on Teacher Match and complete the application so that all that is in place. And we're hoping that's going to yield some positive results for us. And what you did tonight, coupled with what we're hopeful the county commissioners will support us with local supplement, I think it'll help us be much more competitive as a school system. So I think that's important. As a reminder to the board, Friday is an optional teacher work day. There'll be no school for students. A lot of folks, a lot of staff are exercising that day off as well. That is Good Friday. In addition, all schools and departments will be closed April 18th through April 22nd for spring break, and school will resume back for staff and students on Monday, April 25th. That's all I have tonight. And as always, we appreciate the support of our board.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Then let's take our attention. Could I get a motion to?
I make a motion we adjourn.
Move second. It's been moved by Mr. Carroll that we adjourn, second by Mr. Benton. Roll call, Mr. West,
Aye.
Mr. Singletary,
Aye.
Mr. McCoy. Mr. McCoy. Mr. Edwards. Mr. Rhoda.
Aye.
Mr. Clark. Mr. Carroll. Mr. Benton, Roger, aye. Motion carried.